by former pro boxing contender BJ Flores. He has knocked out former NBA star Nate Robinson, and you saw him in his last bout. He knocked out former MMA champion Ben Askren in the first round. He has created more buzz in 3 fights than any fighter in the history of boxing, and he's doing it at home. Everybody, ladies and gentlemen, make some noise and welcome home. Give it up for the problem child, Jake Paul.
Here we are back, Luke Thomas, Brian Campbell in downtown Cleveland, and there is the man, BC, that everyone in one level or another has come to see.
The hometown boy makes good and comes home. Got a nice ovation there. 24 years old, Jake Paul. 3-0 with 3 knockouts as a professional fighter. But obviously the big hook in this one and why those betting odds are so close, why we are this excited is Tyron Woodley represents a danger, a skill level that Jake's 3 opponents haven't yet. But that's to take nothing away. As Ahmad just mentioned over the microphone, have we seen a pro fighter through just 3 pro fights gain this level of attention for his fights? That we've seen pro debuts propped up before on big undercards or on national television. We haven't seen guys 3-0 headline pay-per-views as the draw in this game.
The A side.
And, you know, talking to the Paul brothers, the brief times we've had the chance to, man, they're not scared of this platform. They are not scared of this sport. They are not scared of this smoke and the danger that it brings. You have to be wired a certain way to achieve in the areas of entertainment at the financial levels and the subscriber follower levels they have. Luke, I don't know, again, what exact strain of flavor that crazy is, but there's a confidence and a smarts in there. Jake Paul has it. I don't know how you quantify that. I don't know if it means he'll achieve his boxing dreams, but he's not afraid of this moment, and you got to give him a lot of credit for that.
No doubt about it. He's not afraid, but what's interesting about it is it sort of cuts both ways. On the one hand, can we think of a fighter 3 fights in who has generated this kind of buzz and attention for himself? No, not offhand. I cannot think of one. Although, yeah, no, even Lomachenko, but even with 3, it wasn't quite exactly like this. What I will say, though, is the criticism there would be, yes, but when you're that popular, you can engineer your entry into the sport on almost whatever terms you want. That said, what's interesting about Tyron Woodley, which we've been saying all this time, yes, this is something of a hand-picked opponent, if you want to say that for Jake Paul, but there's just a clear escalation of danger and a clear escalation of stakes that he elected on his own to take. And I think for that, if you want to hate on the fight, hate on it. If you want to hate on Jake, hate on it. I don't know that you can necessarily hate on that decision.
No question about it. And I think you have to respect the decision. I mean, both brothers, really. I didn't love the Floyd Mayweather Logan Paul fight from the overall entertainment value and the style of the fight in the end that we thought could happen. But Logan still took on a fight in which he could have been badly embarrassed and one-punched at any point. And Jake is saying, look, I want guys in there that have a chance to knock me out. I want to prove to you how serious I'm taking this game. And like Tyron Woodley, while we praise him for having people like Pedro Diaz and Floyd Mayweather to certain degrees in his corner or in his camp, also like Jake's brother Tommy, not Tommy, like Jake's brother Logan, they've also sought out professionals. There's BJ Flores right in front of you right there.
Just about to ask you about BJ.
Cruiserweight title contender in his prime. There's Jalen Love, who we saw getting a little verbal dust up with Tyron Woodley in the locker room before Jake's victory over Ben Askren in his 3rd pro fight. They know what they're doing. Jalen Love was a Floyd Mayweather promoted fighter, got really close, fought for a world title, was a tough out. They're sparring with John Pascal. They're sparring in Puerto Rico in a professional camp. So they've got every opportunity financially, influentially, to max themselves out and find out what we have here. I think we would both agree that Jake's taking it more serious than Logan, although Logan will be on the broadcast Sunday night, and he's certainly still in play to make big fights. Jake's a little crazier than Logan. Takes a little more willing to take chances. Those are words from Logan himself, by the way, to describe the difference between them. And, you know, to go in there and look for a knockout against a former world champion in any combat discipline, you got to have that confidence level.
In terms of his overall career, he is asking the world to grade him on a curve. In terms of this particular fight, he is not. Consider, we were there in Miami. Logan Paul basically had no chance against Floyd. The question was, to what extent could you turn in a redeeming offer? And your mileage may vary about to what extent he did. Jake Paul is not doing that. In fact, we talked about it earlier. Go look at your favorite odds maker. They've got Jake Paul as the favorite. Now, not a significant one, but they've got him at about a plus 200, 250, excuse me, minus 200, minus 250 favorite to win. This is a guy, while again, when you're talking about his fourth fight, you have to understand and take the managed expectations. On the other hand, this isn't, hey, let's see how well I can do against Tyron.
doubt.
This is, we got to beat this guy.
Absolutely, and he's responsible for a lot of the attention, as I mentioned earlier, about this boom of crossover celebrity, former retired fighters getting back in the game. And, you know, he's got no problem being the face of that. And I think he has the potential to carry on in the face of that with wins because he's the most aggressive in selling fights from his behavior and activities, and we feel through 3 fights that he's also going in there to go for the knockout, which is key. I can't wait to see where his skills stand up in this test against Woodley, certainly. That's why we're so excited for this fight. But he's also a decent athlete. You know, you talk about the foundational things that he's bringing in. He's a young boy at 24, but a big boy, and he's tough. He can punch. We're going to find out probably in this fight if he can take a punch on the same level he can talk or dish it out. But if the odds are that he can take a punch, Luke, and that he's willing to really do what it takes to win close fights, I'm not trying to tell you you have a future title contender, but I am without a doubt telling you you got a ticket seller. You got a guy who's going to be comfortable on the pay-per-view level, whether it's against the Tommy Furies, Anderson Silvas, retired ex-boxers, or eventually down the line, you know, somebody who's equal to his skill level within boxing. He's going to have the best chance to get there with all these things we're talking about.
By the way, it's not my imagination. These are the colors of the, by the way, I can't see. These are the colors of the Cleveland Browns. Is that a black shirt or a brown shirt? I can't quite tell.
A lot of brown and orange going on there. These are Cleveland Browns color. He's representing him and his brother, born not too far away from here in their suburban hometown. Cleveland's home. I hope we get some Stipe Miocic, former UFC multiple-time heavyweight champion. I hope we get some sightings of another one of Cleveland's own in terms of combat sports. But like I said, I'm looking forward. He got a great ovation here in Public Square in downtown Cleveland. I'm looking forward to hearing that crowd's reaction to him on Sunday night because he doesn't hide that side of his selling persona. He'll play the fool. If that's the best chance for you to buy a ticket, to see the fool, to cheer against the fool, he'll play the fool. He's more than willing.
By the way, speaking of Stipe, if memory serves, this is the first, you know, let's call it major fight, at least in terms of the scale and the audience, since Stipe fought Alistair Overeem. I believe it was CM Punk was on that card as well.
UFC 203.
203, yes. This is the first time that a big fight has been back. Now, were you at that event, the UFC 203 event?
I was at the UFC 201 about 2 months earlier where Tyron Woodley captured the UFC welterweight title from Robbie Lawler. But later that fall, you can argue CM Punk brought a lot of attention, but Stipe got the hometown boy treatment from the loving, adoring fans here.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see relative to Stipe what kind of draw Jake can be. Also, I'll say this. I mean, Jake is going to have not traditional fight fans. Stipe is going to pull more or less traditional fight fans. Jake, I feel like, is going to have a bit of a different cross-section of different groups.
That's why it's hard when people ask me, when I do radio interviews to promote this fight, because we're having such a prominent role in hosting a lot of the events this week. You know, people ask, like, will this be a commercial hit? Will this sell pay-per-view buys? You can't underestimate the size of the audience that the Paul brothers bring, the different chapters of a potential fight fan who are non-traditional without question. It could be the lapsed boxing fans who love a fun fight, and maybe they got hooked in the storyline here. It could also be all those social media influencing fans. For Logan Paul, it was anime fans. It was video game culture fans. For Jake Paul, it's, you know, he's done some Disney acting, done some other things like that. There is a large pool of, you know, I know sons, I got twin 13-year-old sons. Their friends don't think I'm all that cool, Luke. Maybe if they saw me sweating in this shirt, they'd agree.
Yeah, you're not cool.
they don't care that I get to go interview Conor McGregor, cover the big fights. Oh, they found out I got to fly to Puerto Rico to see with the Paul brothers. That's the coolest thing you can be right now. I use that to gauge because my sons love him to death. They don't give a crap about this fight game unless Jake Paul's in it. So that shows you the potential of impact. Now, is that an audience that buys? Do 12-year-old kids convince their parents to buy? We're gonna find out Sunday night with this one, where you're bringing in the MMA fans, you're bringing in the boxing fans. You are also bringing in. I don't even know. Luke, I'm so old, I don't even know what fans he's bringing in, okay?
Yeah, we're going to have to see. You're right about, is this the audience that does the purchasing? I don't know. I will say, though, not only is it Sunday, so it's not really competing with any other fights that might be on Saturday night. It's going to be starting at 8. They're having a bit of an earlier start time for this.
Love it.
I wanted to mention something you talked about, BJ Flores, who, interestingly, a decorated boxer of his own right, also was an ESPN analyst for a time. Tell me about BJ Flores. Tell the audience here. What was he known for? How would you assess him?
He had, from an analyst standpoint, he had his big close-up on NBC Sports. He did that. He was the analyst for that series, and he's done multiple Olympic telecasts, which is a lot of in-depth analyst stuff. But look, as a fighter, he was a cerebral boxer. He was big. He's a good-looking guy. In his younger days, he was much more cut, and he looked like a puncher, but he was much more in a division cruiserweight, which often has big punchers, a smart jabber, a boxer. So you want to talk about a guy who's a not only potential good coach because of that background, but does really good analyst work on NBC Sports. Like I said, the Olympics. This is a guy who understands the transition from amateur to pro and has the grassroots knowledge. Again, just like Woodley and the guy he's associating himself with, you could do so much worse. These are the right minds in camp. Ex-fighters who have had success on the pro level, have fought for world titles like BJ Flores, and obviously Jay Leon Love has. Smart guy in his corner. And I think for Jake, we know that there's some pop there. But it's more important to have guys teaching you the foundational of jab and move and bend at the waist and come up big with the uppercut. He's got to master those fundamentals. It's going to be key at this point.
What did you see when you went to visit Jake and Logan Paul in Puerto Rico?
It could not have been a less glamorous setup. It's a nondescript gym attached to an elementary school, attached to a nursery that is as boxing as you could get. The smell, the posters on the wall, and the lack of air conditioning, and you got to earn it there. And, to see not only the professional coaching like we talked about, and Logan Paul, his coach is the name is jumping out for me. He was a very outgoing fellow. You remember we had him on, we interviewed Logan Paul's coach.
Oh, yes.
He was running the show there, and he's a strong mind in this game. Jake was there with his team. You saw John Pascal, the former light heavyweight world champion, who's training with them. It's a serious training camp. Yeah, Logan or Jake, we'll crack an off joke. We'll ham it up for the camera. But, Luke, I don't need to tell you this, and maybe we'll see it soon when if he takes the shirt off. They're in sick shape. They're young guys. Jake 24, Logan 26. But you would be able to smell it. I spent a lot of BO there, right? A lot of famous fighters have gone through that gym in Puerto Rico. But if this was a joke, you'd sniff it out right away when you're there. It's a professional training camp, and these guys have lived up to the expectations of how they treat it. Luke, when these guys were still doing exhibition bouts in the UK with fellow gamers, what's the one thing I said that was really positive? I said, okay, it's got its audience that's separate from the regular boxing audience, but at the very least, this is not the celebrity boxing we grew up on. Screech from Saved by the Bell or Todd Bridges from Different Strokes. There's a respect for the game, and athleticism, a power, a speed. Jake Paul right now is as real as he can be in terms of being taken for, as legitimate, because he's lived up to the part expected through 3 pro fights. Maybe not matchmaking level, but now we're transitioning right now.
Yeah, I'm not sure what to make of this workout. Again, you never want to read hardly, not too much, almost, I won't say nothing at all. I will say, from what we've been shown, and that's key here, what you've been shown, Woodley looked a little more crisp.
Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. And he's a guy who, maybe pushing 40 years old, maybe coming off 4 straight defeats in the UFC. But as we mentioned earlier, some of that was he was in his own head. And he mentioned to us he had his own distractions. He didn't put his best foot forward in those 4 fights. That wasn't maybe a representation of where he was really at in terms of his stock. His career on that side fell apart, and he's going for it and making this transition. But he is still an athletic, knockout threat. And then you mix in all those things we talk about how easy he may have been able to transition during this camp to picking up some of the stuff that Pedro Diaz and Floyd have been training him, teaching him, that he's got the mind for this. So, man, it's getting me more excited about the possibilities. I think when this fight was first announced, I thought, Jake is bigger. I wonder if this is perfect matchmaking. And the more you watch video of Tyron, the more you see him interviewed. That's why the betting odds are where they're at. I don't think it's just a puncher's chance. I think these two are going to go to war on Saturday night. And it may not even come down, Luke, to who's picked up boxing faster. It may just come down to who's going after it and wants it more in that spot. So it's going to...
I'll also say, look at the hat there, just a Disney kid. There's the training component. There's also the... All right, you know what? Put a pin in the conversation. Let's go to Ahmad Crump in the ring.
Kosher, they want some volume. Kosher, they want some volume.
Chilling for sure. Where are we going?
Right here. Yeah, right here. Yeah, perfect. And one more time, everybody, make some noise. Give it up for Jake Paul, everybody. Give it up. Give it up. You know what? Just seeing you when you was younger at the Cavs games, and now you have absolutely taken over the city. You have taken over the boxing world. You're coming home, and you're taking on Tyron Woodley, one of your tough opponents. What can everybody expect from this fight on Sunday?
A movie, a knockout, a historical moment. I'm going to turn him into a meme. That's just going to be all over the internet. So if you want to be a part of it, get the pay-per-view now. I'm telling you, this is Cleveland. Ohio people are the best people. We work for everything we have. And to be able to bring this home, this is surreal. I kept on looking around because I'm just like, how did I get here?
Yeah, you know what? And just, you're fighting in Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse, where you watched all the Cavs games growing up. 19,000 fans strong. Talk about the emotions that's going to go through your body fighting in front of hometown fans.
I'm just trying to keep the nerves aside. I'm trying to stay focused on the prize. I think after I beat him is when it's all going to hit me. But I can't go into this fight with nerves. I was talking to Stipe, who is also from Cleveland. And when he fought here, he said when he was walking out, he got nervous. All of his friends and family are there. So, I'm trying to keep the nerves on the side. It's not good to fight with adrenaline. It's not good to fight thinking about anything other than the fight. So I'm focused, and afterwards we're going to turn up with the city.
Jake, you have put on for the city.
Thank you.
Make us proud, everybody. One more time, give it up for Jake Paul. Hey, before we cut out of here,